Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on today's show, the folks over at Koenigsegg showing off some teaser art of the replacement vehicle for the Agera R. As the Agera R is going off into the sunset, Koenigsegg has been hard at work over this brand new machine, which quite possibly is going to be debuting at the Paris Motor Show, but there's already talk that production will start in the next 6 to 7 months, so in the first part of next year, this vehicle is already going to be in production. Chances are being able to get into new owners' hands. So we'll definitely keep you in tune when more things come out about the replacement for the Agera R. Next up on the list, Volkswagen's been a busy little boy over the past several months. In fact, it only took a handful of months for them to develop this brand new racer known as the ID.R. And in fact, it took over the overall lap record up the hill at Pikes Hill Climb just last weekend. Now this thing tossed a fair amount to actually put together as far as Volkswagen's concerned. Apparently they spent over $17 million on this particular machine, taking over the overall lap record from one world champion, Sebastian Loeb, from the World Rally Championship Series, who actually made a lap up there of 8 minutes 13.878, but the new lap record in this all-electric ID.R in the hands of Romain Dumas actually made a lap for the first time in sub 8 minutes at 7 minutes 57.14 seconds. Now the trick is the old Pikes Peak Hill Climb's record book has really taken a beating over the past 3 years, especially now that the entire circuit is actually fully paved. It used to be dirt. In fact, a fair amount of it used to be dirt, so the actual record book kind of doesn't mean as much anymore because these things are going to get killed over the next several years. Then the trick is, too, I think this is the new future for the Pikes Peak Hill Climb as far as the overall lap record as an electric car. Because you know what? It doesn't matter. Altitude doesn't mean anything to an electric engine like it does to an internal combustion engine. And obviously, because it took the overall lap record up the hill, it obviously beat the EV lap record. And it really crushed that one by just under a minute faster this particular machine was. So kudos to Volkswagen for taking on the hill. But I'm assuming this record's going to fall possibly in the next couple of years. Next up on the list, Aston Martin showing off the absolutely gorgeous brand new DBS Superleggera. Now this particular machine is the replacement for the Vanquish, and one of the big first parts in Aston Martin's plan of redoing the new lineup. The next vehicle up on the list is going to be the brand new Vantage, which possibly could be coming out in the next couple of years. But let's focus on the brand new DBS Superleggera, which really has it where it counts, including a 5.2-liter, 48-valve, twin-turbocharged V12, making 715 horsepower and 663 pounds-feet of torque. That is shifted through a ZF 8-speed gearbox. The vehicle is all-wheel drive. In fact, it's a mid-engine vehicle, even though the engine's up front, because the engine is behind the front axle, giving it a mid-shift designation. The vehicle actually does 0 to 60 jaunts in just 3.4 seconds with a top speed of 211 miles an hour. Now, this vehicle is going to be available, and it's going to be available very quick. By year's end, you're going to be able to get your grubby little mitts on this particular machine, but you better get your pennies in order. This vehicle is going to cost $304,995, and at least that's just starting out. You might want to add a little bit of option list to this particular machine, but what a very good-looking machine. I think it really takes the DB11 to the next level as far as that vehicle is concerned. And next up on the list, well, the folks over at Barrett-Jackson and the FCA actually hook up a charity with a lot of extra coin. In fact, the very last Dodge Viper and the very last Dodge Demon crossed the block at the Barrett-Jackson auction in Connecticut over last weekend. And it went for an eye-watering amount of money, $1 million for these two cars. Now, the trick of this deal is Barrett-Jackson and a lot of car companies do this all the time. They basically have you write a check directly to the charity. The person who bought the vehicle, it splashes the headlines for these guys, but you know what, really? They don't make a whole lot of money on this deal, and obviously that $1 million to that fella, he's getting a huge tax write-off for actually donating to that particular charity. But he is going to have a couple of very cool automobiles, and especially if the Viper and the Demon never exist again, but what if they were to? Then obviously this guy spent a lot of money on next to nothing. So, also another little side note, the last ever Demon actually come off the assembly line floor was black. So apparently in the past several days, they did paint it Viper red, but that is a big chore if you know anything about bodywork. It's not just respraying that machine. Boy, you got to pull everything, all the glass. The car has to be completely taken apart to actually put this thing together. So they actually worked quite quick, because that last Viper's only been off the assembly line for a handful of weeks. So big kudos to FCA, big kudos to Barrett-Jackson, and also to that charity who was pocketing a lot of coin this morning. And last up on the list, an interesting little story that broke just this afternoon, and it all come down to the old test driver for the brand new Pagani Huayra drop top. Apparently that fellow might have rode it off. Yes, he spun it off into the trees. Apparently got a little bit too exuberant with the old loud pedal and stuffed it into some trees. Boy, I tell you what, that's something that happens. You know, it's test driving. You know, I even think of the old Valentino Barboni, long-time Lamborghini test driver. Is actually working with one of the American magazines. They were having him drift around the corner. I think an old Murcielago. He drifted a handful of times till they finally backed it into a pole, which he promptly said, you know what, boys, we're done here. So the trick is, that's how you do the testing. You make sure this car is right for the public. But boy, would you like to make that phone call to Horatio Pagani saying, yeah, you know that only one of the drop-top Huayra? Yeah, there's officially none now. Could you send a record too? That would be nice. So we'll see if this guy actually ends up getting canned. I don't think he will, but it would be at least a little bit better to the story if that actually did take place. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about. And obviously I don't want that guy to lose his job here on Motor Cars Enthusiast. Don't forget to like us over on the Facebook page. Links down in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time. Get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.